Well, probably don't have to tell you, Americans have received count them, three stimulus checks since 2020, and some are wondering if a fourth one is on the way.
Brandon Lewis from our National Verified team looks into claims that more checks could come soon.
Americans have received 3 stimulus checks from the federal government since 2020. And one of the most frequently asked questions we get at Verify is whether we'll get a fourth check.
Money. The latest batch of stimulus checks last week included nearly $1.2 billion in plus-up payments as more 2020 tax returns are processed.
The plus-up payments are money that is owed to the taxpayers for their stimulus checks, but they didn't get the full amount they were supposed to get.
The IRS began sending out the third round of stimulus checks in January, before most people filed their 2020 taxes.
Some states are trying to step up where Congress failed. In Vermont, Republican governor and a Democratic state legislature signed off on a $1,000 tax credit for every child 5 and under. Phil Scott, the state's Republican governor, had initially proposed a wider set of tax cuts. In a statement, Governor Scott said it would have helped a broader cross-section of taxpayers, but that this bill is a step in the right direction. Everybody, what are your thoughts on President Biden so far? So it is here. Lawmakers have approved a new financial relief program. These checks will be worth at least $300. And now new extra stimulus cash will be making its way to thousands of Americans in the form of $300 direct payments as soon as this summer. Hawaii's governor first proposed a tax refund in his 2022 State of the State address. The governor signed it into law this week. He told reporters at the start of 2022, we made a commitment to support programs and policies that would help our residents get back on their feet. Both bills represent a collaborative effort to bring the people of Hawaii some relief as we continue to recover from a 2-year crisis. So in order to be eligible for a tax refund under this legislation, you have to earn less than $100,000 a year. And for those whose earnings are above those thresholds, you will receive $100. The tax rebate package will benefit taxpayers and dependents who filed in the state, and is expected to cost the state about $250 million. That means an eligible family of 4 could earn up to $1,200 in state funds. And according to the Department of Taxation, refunds are due to start rolling out in the last week of August. The measure also commits $500 million to Hawaii's rainy day fund and prepays $300 million for retirement liabilities. The second bill passed increases the state's minimum wage for the first time since 2018, from $10 an hour to $12 an hour starting October, and it will increase to $14 an hour in 2024, $16 an hour in 2026, and then $18 an hour in 2028. Now, rebates will continue for hundreds of thousands of people in New Mexico. However, unlike the first 2 rounds of stimulus, in May and June, the last anticipated effort from July have some strings attached. Specifically, the upcoming rebates have an income threshold, meaning those who made over a certain amount of money in the 2021 calendar year will not be eligible. The latest tax rebate checks are eligible for New Mexico residents who filed their 2021 taxes. As mentioned, there's an income threshold tied to these rebates, which is different for both single filers and joint filers. According to the New Mexico Tax and Revenue Department, the rebates should be processing during the first full week of July, or next week, and Moore says it will take the full month for the rebates to get out to eligible taxpayers. So for many people, you may not receive a payment for several weeks. As for how the payments will be rolled out, well, the state will pay July rebates automatically.
Available to most families is dwindling.
I think what's most important is help is on the way. This is about putting people first, letting folks know that we understand how horrible this has been in so many different ways, and we want to have your back. And let's get through this together.
And right now, as this COVID bill moves forward, it's important to update your information with the IRS. And that information we're talking about, your personal banking information, everything down to your home address. Last stimulus check, the last go around, more than...
The gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I thank him for his leadership on the very important elements of the rule that will be brought to the floor today. I thank him. I thank all the members of the Rules Committee. I particularly want to acknowledge the
Exciting news, the lawmakers are considering monthly stimulus checks and these payments automatically deposited for millions of people. Democrats are pushing for new checks to be worth at least $300, and now the child tax credit, which was temporarily expanded through the American Rescue Plan, had the existing credit of $2,000 per dependent under age 17. It was increased to around $3,600 per dependent under 6 and $3,000 per child under 6 through 17. Half of the enhanced sum was made available through monthly payments starting last July, up to $300 per child under 6 and up to $250 per child under 18. Families could claim the remaining money when they filed their tax returns for the year, and Democrats had hoped to renew some more generous credits this year. But the key legislation they hope to pass through the Build Back Better bill has fallen apart, and Joe Manchin is the one to blame. He is opposed to renewing the payments without additional work requirements, and it's all on Joe Manchin now. Democrats and advocates are hoping to get one more go at renewing the enhanced child tax credit this year. Adam Rubin, a campaign director at an advocacy organization that promotes extending economic power to all Americans, told reporters, "I feel better about it than I have at any point in 2022. A number of signs are pointing to new momentum. President Biden called the enhanced child tax credit one of the most effective programs we've ever seen at a recent White House conference, and Joe Biden also said, "That's why my national strategy calls on Congress to expand the child credit permanently. We'll get it done more this time." And recently released census data shows the credit expansion has helped reduce child poverty by more than 40%. That prompted Democratic lawmakers like Michael Bennet of Colorado, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, and Cory Booker of New Jersey to call for extending the enhanced credit before the year ends. The post-election period, everybody, could be a key opportunity for revisiting the proposal. It's a more optimism time compared to last year, as lawmakers are at a year-end tax deal to revisit corporate tax cuts put in place in 2017. Advocates hope an enhanced child tax credit can be included in that package. And Brown said in a recent interview, no more tax breaks for big corporations and the wealthy unless the child tax credit is with it. According to Elaine Magg, an expert at the Urban Bookings Tax Policy Center, there were the few key features behind the success of the 2021 credit, in addition to the higher credit amounts that monthly payments. And now, the credit was made fully refundable. That made it possible for low-income households to access the full credit. Plus, don't forget about this, everybody. Experts say that when lawmakers negotiate on new terms, an enhanced child tax credit may not be as generous as the 2021 crisis-era relief. Now, child poverty is poised to increase relative to last year. Economists have said that Congress had a real choice on whether or not to take action and stern some of the rise in poverty, and the work requirements may be a sticking point in the negotiations between the two parties. Over the past few months, Mitt Romney has pushed for a Republican-friendly version of the enhanced expanded child tax credit that he hopes could gain bipartisan support. His proposal would bring back the direct monthly payments that many parents used for 6 months last year to cover the cost of food, clothing, and childcare before Congress let the current tax credit expire. But Romney's form of extra monthly payments would add strict work requirements, to slash programs and aid vulnerable Americans, and make significant changes to the tax code. And according to sources that are familiar with the situation, Romney has largely worked with Republicans on his plan, so hopefully both parties can get it done, work together, and send out payments by the end of this year.